Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? I can't sing it, but I can say it. And it is a subject, one of many subjects that I'll be discussing today with the one and only Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, a woman who amazingly operates in 35 different time zones. I know there are only 24, but she's pretty much everywhere all day, all the time. And when you set your watch by her, you're never wrong. But sometimes people don't do that. So Dr. Jacalyn, why don't you come out here and talk a little bit about time zones and how, I mean, this actually does feed into the whole idea of a head for business, because we have accountability that we need to talk about here. We've got commitment that we need to talk about here. Tell me some of your stories.
Does anybody really know what time it is?
You can do it.
I'm laughing so hard because I hear this all the time. Oh, in my country, it was this time. I didn't know that the show was supposed to start in that time. I didn't know it was supposed to be here 10 minutes early. Oh my gosh, I hear it over and over again. And I just have to laugh because it's not that difficult to figure out, especially when all of our devices actually are synced to the time, right? Whatever time zone you're in. And people just, I don't know, they don't seem to really care.
And, you know, we shared a little bit of a story of mine. I mean, you know, one of the things we like to do on A Head for Business, which normally airs at this time, and I want to, at some point later, I'm going to make a plug for people to sign up for it. Call me, reach out to me, and become a part of A Head for Business, because the psychology of business transactions, individual relationships, really determines your success in ways that nobody really fully understands or appreciates. So, for example, I shared this story because I don't mind talking about stupid things I've done. I showed up for a flight to the West Coast here on the East Coast an hour late because of a time zone change. And when I got there, there was no plane. The door was closed. There was just a couple of people left at the desk cleaning things up. And I wanted to know where my plane was. Where is my plane? So, you know, because I'm in a bad mood to begin with. I've taken a car service to the airport and packing and unpacking and stuff I'm not fond of. And I used to do a lot of it. And there I was at the airport wanting to know where my plane was. And how come they left without me? What's going on here? And I was pissed. And they detected that. And after I ranted and raved and said, you know, pointed to my watch, they pointed to their watch and said, you realize we changed from, you know, we moved ahead or moved back the night before. And so that's why you missed your flight. And, but now at this point, I have to defend my position of being indignant. Like, how dare they change the clocks while I'm asleep? And why didn't somebody call me knowing that I had a flight to wake me up? And this was before the appliances we have all automatically synchronized. So it was possible to go a big chunk of a Sunday after daylight savings time or standard time, after you change the clocks. It was possible to go through pretty much an entire Sunday not knowing that you were an hour off, you know, until you went to the airport and found out your flight wasn't there. So if these were people I was doing business with, I left I spent the next half hour waiting for them to rebook me, apologizing to them for treating them so badly. But that's the incredible thing to me. And you've shared that too. People will be upset with you because you don't realize the burden of the time being different in different parts of the world, as if you wouldn't. I mean, this is something you're kind of expert in, isn't it?
Well, first of all, your story is hilarious because knowing you, I can imagine you. Where is my plane? Why aren't they waiting for me? Are they coming back? Are you calling them to say?
Yeah, they got it. I don't care how far out they are. You can turn them around and come back here and get me. Yeah. Well, yeah. I wasn't that bad. I tend to treat everything with humor, so I was probably funny. I was probably entertaining. But I was pissed, and I remember being pissed. I remember it, and then I remember feeling stupid. But you can't admit that. The psychology prevents that. We don't ever want to be wrong. And sometimes, even when we obviously are, and that's why I said accountability is a big part of this, just say, I screwed up. I'm sorry. I got the time wrong. Why can't you just say that?
I so agree with you. And it's interesting because honestly, before I started having my own business, which was 5 years ago, I didn't really know that much about time zones because I was very much US based and I did travel internationally for work, but everything was scheduled and someone took care of all the arrangements and I just showed up and did what I was supposed to do. But now with my own business, especially since this television network is global and even my other business with private advisory and coaching and speaking, that's international as well. I got to know the fact that the US, especially New York time, is not the only time. A lot of things are based off of New York time. But what amazes me is there are people who are also very global, who are also very well traveled, and they will book in for an appointment or an interview, and the excuse they will give is they got the time wrong. And it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse that is acceptable for the fact you just made a mistake. Just admit you made a mistake.
What makes that so hard?
People don't want to admit it. They want to blame it on someone else. And it happened recently. I'm not going to say to whom or where or whatever, but this person was also in the Eastern time zone and booked in for an interview and didn't show up. And even though we did what we always do, we send a confirmation email from the website. And then before the show, we send an email with the graphic, typically, if we have your headshot, and the link to join. And it's all right there. And so the person didn't show up. And then I called on the phone and the call went right to voicemail. And the person's excuse over a day later was that they guessed their emails must have gone to spam and they had their phone on Do Not Disturb. Why is that my problem? Can you please let me know why is that my problem? Why is it the network's problem?
This isn't a me problem. This is a you problem. And,
right. I'm here. I'm ready to go. I got all dressed, ready. This is the time for this show. And so I just decided that it is not my problem that people do not keep track of time. And here's the beautiful thing. I went into a doctor's office a couple of days ago and went to use the restroom. And there on the wall was their cancellation policy. And basically, if you do not cancel 24 hours in advance, you will be charged $100. And if you don't pay the $100, you are not coming back. And I think what's really interesting is we start on time. Doctors don't. You don't know how long you're going to be waiting when you go to a doctor's office, but you have an appointment here and we're going to be rolling on time.
That on the subject of doctor's offices, I have kind of a funny story. It goes back just a couple of years. I went for one of my routine doctor visits, which are pretty much daily these days. And there I was. And it was a routine visit. It wasn't an intervention or treatment or anything. It was just how you doing? Are you still upright? That kind of yeah, I'm still upright. So yeah, and here's the proof. See, and when it was all done, they said the doctor will be right back. And so I sat there, and they forgot I was there. They forgot I was there.
Oh, I hate that.
They forgot I was there. And, and I'm looking at my watch and I'm thinking, well, okay, it's been 20 minutes. It's been 25 minutes. I called them on my phone and they said, well, do you want to make an appointment? I said, I'm in an appointment. I'm in the back of the office. I'm right here. I'm waiting to have my appointment finished. She did not know what to make of that. I just said, listen, I'm in examining room 3. If somebody
do you need the address and a GPS?
Yeah. I mean, maybe you're a little confused about where it is, but and then, oh my God, I had no idea. Now they were apologetic. They were very apologetic. I mean, there really wasn't much. They really couldn't be angry at me for this. But let's play this out. I show up late for a program that you and I have booked because I've lost track of the time, and which means I don't show up really. I mean, important to remember, if I don't show up on time for you, I'm not showing up at all. It's not like I can show up late. It's different because you said we were going to be on at 10 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock. We're doing something else now. You can't just walk in. Different from almost everything else. And then I get all up in your face about how these time zones are so difficult for me to manage. And somehow that's your fault. Right. You lead with that aggressive, not my mistake, it's your mistake. Or I could say, oh my God, that is so stupid. I am so sorry. What percentage of time do you get the latter versus the former?
So rarely, I can't even tell you. It's always my fault. And the interesting thing is that on the website, when people go to book, if they were to read the terms and conditions, this is not me sitting in my kitchen going, hey, Al, you want to go live in 10 minutes? Like, I don't know, do you have a jacket that you can throw on? This is all programmed in advance because we have so many shows. And I think that's what people don't realize. And that's why I really find it offensive when people say, I want to do a podcast. This is not a podcast. It's a television show. Hello. There's a difference. It's all planned accordingly. And then some of our shows go to our distributors or Amazon Fire. And so the shows have to start at a certain time. And that's why we meet 10 minutes before the show starts to check your lighting, to make sure your audio, etc. So I'll tell you a funny story. This person showed up late and they came backstage because, we're both admins. We can see if somebody's backstage. And so I decided as a professional to start the show, do the show myself. And so the person showed up like 20 minutes late and they go into the chat and they're like, hello, I'm here. Do you see me? Well, I'm doing the TV show, right? So I can't write back. So then the person actually descends into calling me 4-letter words. And then I'm a this and I'm an effing that. And then to make matters worse, they go on YouTube and put that I'm a this and I'm a that. And so I'm still broadcasting, knowing that it's out there in the public domain that this person is in my studio calling me all these names because the person shows up late. So to me, because listen, I'm not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes, but I do a lot of work on myself. I take a lot of training and courses. I know this has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the other person. So I'm not going to engage. I am not going to bring myself to a level where I am now going back and forth because I'm here. Obviously, the show started on time. You're not here. And now you're calling me 4-letter words and putting it in the public domain so that everyone can see your real true self.
Unbelievable. So playing that out, if I call you and I say, oh, I'm really sorry, I'm late and it's my fault, and let's please reschedule because it's a great opportunity and I don't want to miss it. How does that make you feel versus the calling you 4-letter words and screaming and yelling at you as if it were your fault, when in fact it's my fault?
That's a totally different approach. It's a totally different approach. And people don't understand when you lead with hostility and anger, and we all do it, right? But you have to catch yourself and say, you know what? This is really about me and it's not about you. And I made the mistake. And, when we think about it, think about your example with the doctor's office. So many times we're literally feeling helpless because we might have made an appointment to see a doctor. It could be a year in advance or 6 months or whatever the case. We have to actually see this doctor. And they're doing the best they can, right? Their scheduler has booked appointments like every 10 minutes. I think it's every 11 minutes or something. And the person's going as fast as they can, but they get to the third patient and the patient's like, oh, this is wrong and that's wrong. And they really need someone to listen. And by the time they show up to you, they're already late. They're exhausted, right? They've been listening to BS all day long. And now you just go, boom. How do you like these apples, doc? You're not going to get the service that you want because you have to be aware of the fact. And so I just want to segue to this and then I'll turn it back to you. It's like when I have to call certain companies, and you and I 5 years ago, Al, we did a role play about the cable company. And I don't think anything has changed, which is why I don't have cable anymore. But if I have to call my website provider, for example, I know This is a 45-minute call. There is no way it is getting over in 15 minutes. So I'm expecting it. So when I go to a doctor's office, I'm expecting it's going to take, if it's supposed to be a 10-minute appointment, I could be there for 3 hours, and I have to plan accordingly. But when you're doing a TV show, it starts at a certain time, and if the host knows what they're doing, it ends at a certain time. And that's what your commitment is.
I want to pick up on two things. The first is just a direct response to what you just said. Everybody's terrified that AI is going to take their job. Everybody's terrified that, oh my God, what I do for a living is going to be replaced. That AI is going to learn how to do it, and then I'm going to be out of work. Well, one of the solutions for that is to do the job, actually do the job. I mean, if AI is actually going to replace you because you're bad at what you do, then maybe you've got it coming. Really. I mean, that whole idea that you call a cable company and you get I don't want to say stupid, because I hate to call people stupid. They're not stupid. They're just not motivated, which makes them sound stupid. But that's an optical illusion in a lot of ways. I mean, their real problem is they don't care. That's really the problem. And when you get somebody on the phone who obviously doesn't care, you've got not only that problem, but the problem of anticipating what's going to be a 45-minute call with somebody who doesn't care.
Yes.
Where you've got to repeat yourself, where you've got to say the same things over and over again, where you're going to feel like you're actually annoying them for calling them with a problem you have about a service you're paying for. I mean, really, that's frustrating. So, yeah, I wanted to respond to that. But I also want to say that the reason why I thought this would be a good conversation to have is that everybody's got a story to tell about a mistake that they made, not in fact or in deed, but in attitude, in approach. Something that they did to an employee or to a coworker, or something that if they had to do it over again, they would do it differently based on that experience, and maybe based on subsequent experience. And that really is what Ahead for Business is about. So we're looking to talk with people who are willing to be vulnerable and willing to say it was my fault. And what I'm hoping is that some of the people who are watching this particular program will reach out to me. And I'm easy to reach, 212-480-3730. Reach out to me and get a conversation started about how you can tell that story, share that story of vulnerability, of accessibility, of respect that got you a better outcome than the instinctive response that we often have, which is, like you said, hostility or animosity. And those are great stories, and we love to tell them. So reach out to me, and let's get you booked on Ahead for Business. And thank you for that opportunity, Dr. Jacalyn.
You are welcome. And we do have the information right here on the screen, 212-480-3730. And if you're out of the United States, Al, how do people get in touch with you? Are you on WhatsApp?
I am on WhatsApp. So I'm findable by my name on WhatsApp. And also I can be reached by email, al@pro-fit4teams.com. So you've got a story you want to tell, and and some of this is resonating with you. Maybe you were insulted by somebody who actually was at fault, but wanted you to take the blame. Maybe that was you. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear about how you would do it differently and what you manage inside your brain to rewire a human brain is an instrument over which you have control. You're not a total victim of it, and you're not held hostage by it. So if you could tell a story about how you used your brain as a vehicle and drove it somewhere deliberately and intentionally, rather than just have it stick you in the back seat and drive you wherever it wants to go.
Where are we going today?
That's how most people use their brains. They sit in the back seat, they hand the wheel over to their brain, and the human brain is not necessarily wired for intentional, smart activity. It's generally, you leave it to its own devices and it's going to screw you up. So we want to hear those stories, and that really is what Ahead for Business is all about.
It's usually in defensive mode, the brain. Oh, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. I didn't know anything about it. We're having too much fun today, Al, I have to tell you.
We are, but we always do. And we do have a commercial coming up, so maybe we can take that break now, and when we come back, we'll talk some more.
We do. And by the way, this commercial break is sponsored by Red O'Laughlin, our dear friend and colleague, who will be turning 80, by the way, I think September 8th. So stay
Wow.
tuned for that. And he's written his new book. I think this is one of, I don't know, many books. I want to say 10, but I'm not sure. It's the first in a series of things that suck. So this is Aging Sucks. Take a look at it. You can purchase it on Amazon.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
He's a decorated veteran on top of all that. Red is a great guy, and it's a really interesting and entertaining book. So I can strongly recommend it. And Doc, I know you've been associated with Red for a long time. You've met him a couple of times. How do you like the book?
Well, first of all, I want to say about Red, this man is so responsible, reliable, dependable. I've told him that I would give him the keys to my life and feel very safe with it because he's just that kind of person. You know, it's interesting. People I've met in the military are typically very structured and disciplined. And so having someone on the team like that, he does 3 shows every Thursday. And I think it's been 5 years now. And he doesn't miss a show. And so when you talk about somebody who could easily say, listen, I've got a lot going on. No, there's no excuses. And he always owns whatever it is. If there is something that comes up, not with his shows, because he's always on top of everything. So I don't know. I just admire him. And his book, Aging Sucks, it's not a textbook. It's really geared towards women who are over 50. And I don't know anyone like that. Do you?
No, I certainly don't.
It's like, there's a lot of really good information in there, and it's really an offshoot of his show Talking Heads that he'll be doing today, actually right after this program. So if you haven't picked up your copy of Aging Sucks, if you're interested in longevity, by the way, we could live to be very old and be wearing diapers and drooling and sitting in a chair and having someone take care of us, or we could actually be active and healthy and enjoying our life. So Red gives a lot of good information that helps us make that decision.
He's a smart guy who knows a lot, and I know from experience too. But I want to talk a little bit about lessons in history because that's a new program here on USA Global TV and Radio that I believe we're going to be moving over to the Voices of Humanity channel at some point because it's so interesting. And Red is the kind of guy that you could throw into the middle of a deep conversation about something very few people know anything about. And he can make a contribution there. I mean, a significant contribution. He's traveled widely. He knows a lot of people. He's lived quite a life. And that makes him an absolute asset on USA Global TV and Radio.
Absolutely. And to your point, I have met him in person, and we actually just were on a panel together in Denver about book publishing, and he's the real deal. And so is his wife. I mean, they're just a beautiful couple. They've been married, I want to say 58 years. I hope I got that right. But they're just good people. And these days when everyone's so judgmental and looking to stab you in the back, these two are welcoming you with their arms out. So thank you to Red and to Marilyn O'Loughlin.
Great people. I do want to mention too that I kind of got dropped into lessons in history, for which my initial reaction was, wait a minute, I am history. I mean, I really hate I hate to talk about anything that I personally remember and refer to it as history. When I was, again, when I was younger, I remember I had this kind of a, who really killed JFK? A lot of people don't even know who that is anymore. But John F. Kennedy, President of the United States, assassinated by who knows who. I mean, 300 different shooters from 900 different directions in Dallas. The only thing we know is it happened in Dallas. Everything else is just sort of a rumor. So I decided I would buy one of these books to find out what the conspiracies were. And I went into the bookstore. This is a long time ago. And I said to the person at the bookstore, I'm looking for this book. Where is it? And they said, well, it's in history. I said, wait a minute. I remember this. It can't be in history. If you want me to buy that book, you got to go get it and put it, I don't know, current events. You got to take it out of history and put it in current events. And then I'll buy it. But I'm not going into history to buy a book about anything I personally remember. I'm just not doing that.
So anyway, what did you do? Did you purchase the book?
Yeah, I did. I bought the book, but and they didn't, they didn't get it. I mean, that really one of the frustrating things about being somewhat funny now and then is that often people don't get it. They sort of just stare at you like, you want the book or not? I mean, that was it. I think I got what I got was, you want it? Yeah, where is it? I'll go get it. So I went and got the book and I bought it, and they didn't get at all the humor of it. So when you invited me to be part of Lessons in History, I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute, how do I get this honor? Is it by virtue of the fact that I'm a fossil?
No.
And anyway, it turned out to be it's been a great experience because we've been talking about the history of a country, post-World War II totalitarian government, Yugoslavia, that was part of the Soviet bloc, that after the Soviet Union fell, pretty much broke up on its own, as many nations in that area did. And they descended into a kind of a civil war, and that involved other nations in the world who tried to smooth things over there. And now it's 7 different countries. And that's really what Lessons in History is about. How do you take those 7 nations that formed from the breakup of this Soviet bloc country, and how do you make a community out of them? How do you get them to work together? How do you get them to stop shooting at each other and actually build something constructive? And I'll tell you the truth, I didn't expect it to be as much fun as it turned out to be, but it has turned out to be a great time. And Red co-hosted one with me, and he made some great contributions on that episode. It was a lot of fun.
I just want to share, to answer your question, if I picked you because you're a historic relic. No, I don't even think that. But I picked you because this is the gentleman who is our guest expert. His name is Sabri Agimi, and he's with AGI Media UK Ltd. So he is a professional broadcaster out of the UK. So I knew, you being a professional broadcaster with your years of experience, that you were the man. You were the man who was going to be hosting this show. And then, of course, we've been grateful. We had Roland Friedel on, and we've had Red, and I think Red's coming back, and I think Humphrey Hawksley will also be co-hosting an episode with you. So
good. Turned out to be a great conversation. And Sabri keeps arguing that he's not an expert.
I know, he does say that.
I mean, he keeps saying, but I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert. You live there. Right. I mean, he grew up there. That is his neighborhood. And, that perspective, I think, is solid gold. I mean, one of the advantages to working with you, Dr. Jacalyn, is that really, you literally are worldwide. And you literally do have people all over the world contributing their points of view on different subjects that we normally don't get exposed to here in the United States, where we're kind of under the thumb. I shouldn't say that, but there are a couple of journalistic cartels in the United States who pander to particular audience interests using, these days, algorithms on, what's that called? Swiping, where they just keep showing you the same stuff over and over again because they know you like it. And because they know you like it, they can squeeze an ad in every now and then along with those things you're swiping by. In other words, it's not about trying to teach you anything. It's about trying to keep you engaged so that you can buy something that they're offering for sale that makes you valuable, because your eyeballs are more valuable than your judgment, really, and that's a kind of an indirect way of segueing into Voices of Humanity, USA Global Voices of Humanity. Because I think one of the reasons why you imagine that to be a great project is that you want to be a counterweight to that. You want to provide diverse points of view and a positive outlook rather than the negative thing that drives acrimony and anger, which are very motivating to people and keeps them swiping. But you want to try to make a happy story out of everything, where everybody else is out to try to make a miserable, sad story out of it. And I think I'm really looking forward to working with you on building that organization and growing that effort, because I think it's really needed. So, did I get that right? What would you add to that? What did I miss?
I was just looking to bring up the website, which I have now. Here it is, USA Global Voices of Humanity. We amplify untold stories. We inspire change. We build a more compassionate world. Well, I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for your partnership and your mentorship and your leadership, because you and I were out having a lunch or something, and this topic came up, and it was really championed by you. So I have to thank you for that. And it makes a lot of sense. And someone very wise told me last week, and I think it was you, that mainstream media, the programming that they have is really meant to isolate and divide people rather than unify people. And so there are stories that need to be told that mainstream media wouldn't pick up. And I want to be really clear about something, and I'd love your thoughts on this. Let's say you get on one of the major networks, and I know they're dwindling, but you get on one of the major networks, you might get 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes is a huge amount of time if you do. And there's a script probably that they've given you, or that you've said, I want to make sure I hit this point and that point. We don't use any scripts here, and our show's 40 minutes. So you basically get about 35 minutes of the 40 where you're going to be talking about interacting with our host. And so to me, it makes so much sense. And I want to give a shout out to Talia Smith, who's one of our hosts, and she has 2 shows. This is Phlox and Beyond Survival. And she herself is an advocate for a number of things, but fluoroquinolone toxicity, and for people who are voiceless to get a place to share their voice. And so as a result of the work that she's been doing, there are people all over the world who are reaching out to her on a regular basis, thinking that she has a magic wand to make everything go away. And it's quite a daunting experience, from what I understand, to be someone who's advocating. But the point is, it's so important, and I have so much respect for her for doing it. But those types of stories need their own platform, really. And so that's a big part of why we're doing what we're doing.
That's, you mentioned the big networks, and I've had some experience working with different departments in some of those big networks. And I know pretty much in general how they operate. The goal really is to try to get as much viewer loyalty as you can, because at the end of the day, the number of people that watch your network, especially if it's advertiser supported, but even if it isn't, the number of people who tune in determines your success as a business. It's not what they learn. It's not that you changed their minds or that you educated them in any way. What matters to you is that they tuned in and they paid attention. So they very carefully pre-select their guests to suit their algorithm. And then now there's an actual computer algorithm for streaming services that determines what you're going to see next as you're swiping, based on what it knows about you, because of what you've spent more time on before. So the things that you spend more time on, you tend to see more of. And because you tend to see more of them, you tend to stay on and keep swiping. That there's always been an algorithm behind television, even before there were computers doing it automatically. The algorithm is always, who watches our network? How do we hold on to them? How do we keep them? And so they would pre-select their guests and pre-interview their guests to make sure that they stayed on topics that would keep people tuned in. They worked really hard not to put off. I don't want to say not offend, because often they were offensive, but that was deliberate. I mean, I don't want to pick on The View necessarily, but a pretty well-known television show here in the United States has a very large viewership among the people who actually take the opposite political view of the people who are on The View. A lot of people who watch The View, this is incredible. A lot of the people who watch The View are people that watch because they want to get riled up. And the network knows that. The network knows and understands that. So they promote that. they encourage people. Do what there are people joining your show today who hate all of you and frequently tell each other how much they hate all of you, but they're tuning in because you're going to say something that's going to justify that hatred. And so as a result of that, we want to stay on this track. We don't want to we don't want to tinker too much with the composition of the panel. We like the way things are because we're getting good numbers out of it. Does that make sense at all? Because
yes, it does.
When I used to subscribe to Time magazine a long time ago, when I used to think it was a news magazine, back in the day, I used to think, well, Time magazine, you learn things from Time magazine. And I would get the magazine. I can't remember whether they published weekly or monthly, but the mag would show up in paper in the mail. A guy actually had it mailed delivered to me. That's how much of a fossil I had. So you talk about relic. I remember getting magazines. And so I'd get the magazine and I'd look at the cover and it would be a world leader, Gorbachev, Reagan. I mean, this is going back. But one day it was Molly Ringwald. One day on the cover of my Time magazine was Molly Ringwald, a great actress, young child star at the time. And so you do a little digging and you find out, why is Molly Ringwald on my Time magazine? What is she doing on the cover of Time magazine? Well, you hunt it out a little bit. She just released a motion picture called Pretty in Pink. The company that produced that major motion picture owns Time magazine. So now on the cover of Time magazine, you got a picture of somebody who's appearing in a movie called Pretty in Pink. Last week, it was Mikhail Gorbachev. The week before that, it was Ronald Reagan. And now this week, it's Molly Ringwald. I canceled my subscription after that because it was obvious. It was obvious. Now I'm being manipulated. I'm not being informed or educated. I'm being manipulated. They're getting me or trying to get me to buy tickets to see this movie. And they figure, I don't know that they really cared much that was the day that I stopped reading it. But I do remember on that day, it occurred to me, wait a minute, this isn't news the way I always understood it. This is something deeper and darker. It's entertainment, essentially. That's what this is. This is entertainment. So, and I think what I like about the whole idea of Voices of Humanity is it's not about manipulating you. It's not about earning your loyalty by saying things to you that you already know, but in a different form. It's about actually giving you points of view from people like Talia, for example, who have very valuable stories to share that would never make it on a traditional television network. They would never be asked to join. And that's why this is not just a worthy project to follow. It's also one that is worth writing a check for. It is a not-for-profit. Because the only way really to do this, to bring these stories out, is to make it possible to bring them out with the same kind of production values the major networks have, which takes money and takes effort, but with a different kind of a heart to it, caring to it. And that's why I'm really looking forward to doing this with you. This is going to be, and we have a great team we're pulling together, I think, to deliver the goods. So it's kind of exciting.
I was just going to say that we have a top-notch team we are working with. So now we currently have, I think, 5 projects in the can, so to speak, and we need you to help us by making donations. And Al, would we like to share a little bit about what we're going to be doing with those donations?
Well, we've got a couple of projects we're going to be standing up. One of them is Disrupted TV, which is a project I was involved with many years ago. We're resurrecting it because it's an important subject. Everybody's frustrated with the quality of education and the results they're getting in their children. And adults, by the way, same thing. Everybody's frustrated that education feels like it's falling down on the job. And that's not about teachers. That's about a system that often demotivates teachers. So we want to hear stories of teachers who've broken through that. We want to hear stories of students who've had experiences that indicate that we're wrong about that tell us that there are some things that happened in my educational journey that made a difference. And Disrupted TV really is about the solutions and the technology and the approaches that change the way we do education to get a better outcome. And that better outcome benefits all of society. Because what we really need is a younger generation of people that are prepared to lead as the older generation releases the reins of government, for example. we want a younger generation that is really fully prepared to take over, knowing what they know, and not do it the same, but to do it differently, but to do it better. And that's Disrupt Ed TV. That's just one example. Another example is lessons in history, which I think we can make a project of. I think what we've learned from studying the 7 nations that came out of Yugoslavia is that the other 230 nations in the world share similar stories. And what we can learn from all of those stories is how to be better neighbors to each other and how to build a better world. And so those are just 2 examples. And you mentioned we've got a bunch more. Eventually, it'll be a network with a collection of producers who focus on certain content areas, and hosts and personalities. I hate to say that, but people on the air who know how to bring those stories out and put them across so that people learn from them. It's going to be a fun ride.
Absolutely. Sorry, I was trying to type the email address for people to get in touch with us if they're interested in supporting, which is, I'll put it on the screen. But you can see here the website is usaglobalvoicesofhumanity.org. So you can contact us at info@usaglobalvoicesofhumanity.org if you are interested in joining our team. If you're interested in donating, please make sure you contact us numerous times. We'd love to hear from you.
Good. I know we're coming up on the end of the program. And since you mentioned teams, if you'll indulge me for just a couple of minutes.
Yes.
The most powerful business question that has ever been asked, the most powerful business question, isn't about money. It isn't about profit. It isn't about operational success. It's the who are we question. And with ProFit for Teams, we've formulated a way to ask that question. We get everybody to say, think about your team as though it were a single person. What would that person be like? And we have a means of measuring the answers we get back from people who answer that question, and using that to create the role model that represents that team when it's doing its best work on its best day to keep all of its promises and achieve all of its goals. ProFit for Teams is a scientific program with a heart. It's aimed at uniting people around what they really, really, really do for a living and how they do it. And by encouraging them to develop the best practices and communicate those best practices in a way that creates a culture of team improvement that lasts over a long period of time. So I'm hoping people will reach out to me at 212-480-3730 to talk about that, or email me at al@pro-fitforteams.com. And as always, Dr. Jacalyn, thanks for the chance to get the word out on this.
You are most welcome, my friend. For our people who are listening on audio only already, remember it's 212-480-3730, Al Cini, ALCINI, and you can find him on WhatsApp. And I know you already shared your email address.
WhatsApp and on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find.
All right, keep talking. I'm going to find you on LinkedIn. Go ahead. Okay, I've got it. No,
I don't know. What would a terrific international certified broadcaster do at this time? Keep talking.
Keep talking.
There you go. You found me.
There you go.
Look at that. And there's a plug, too, for Ahead for Business, which we're looking for guests for that program. And I really want to talk to you if you feel like you've got a story you'd like to share. And I particularly am interested in talking with creators, people who develop something out of nothing. Those stories are especially compelling. It takes a certain amount of courage to create something that didn't used to exist. And, business is hard enough, let alone business that's promoting an idea that nobody's ever heard of. So give us a call, share your stories. I'd like to learn from those stories. There's plenty I can learn from that. And I think there are an awful lot of people who'd be interested too. So let's get those stories out there.
Let's get those stories rolling. Thank you very much, Mr. Cini. I really appreciate the opportunity to discuss this topic with you. And I think maybe a short duet before we leave. What do you think?
I'm sorry, say what again?
A short duet.
Oh, duet. Oh, no. Does anybody really know what time it is?
Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care?
Oh, my God. That was Chicago, wasn't it?
It was Chicago.
Oh,
absolutely.
Great group.
So
see, fossils know.
The fossils are in control of this
Absolutely.
particular episode. So thank you everyone for being here. The last thing I like to say is if you haven't done so, what are you waiting for? Please subscribe to our YouTube channels, USA Global TV and Radio, home of the YouTube Silver Creator Award. We're just about to get to 116,000 subscribers here. And Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, I think we're just over 42,000. We started that a couple years later. So please join our community. We'd love to have you. And this way you can be in the know for all the world-class education that we are sharing. So thanks again for being here. Al, any last words before we go today?
Just thank you so much, Dr. Jacalyn. This is so much fun, and there's so much value in it, and it wouldn't be happening if it weren't for you.
Well, thank you. And I couldn't have done it without you because you've been here since the beginning. The beginning
Fossil
of
territory
time.
again.
That's right. So we're going to close out with a sponsorship from Tracy Cram-Perkins, who was
Great.
very helpful to me when my mother had dementia. She's written this incredible book called Dementia Home Care, Before, During, and After. And we actually had another episode from Tracy on Tuesday, and I was producing the show, and I was literally tears streaming down my face. So it affects so many people, and especially if you're a full-time caregiver, take a look at this and consider purchasing her book because it really helped me. Here we go.
Definitely.
And we'll see you back next for Talking Heads with Red O'Loughlin. USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care, How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.